Today, I wanted to tell you guys about a flirting technique that women use that most men don't pick up on. And, there's probably been a time where a chick has done this, to you, or, you've been in a situation where this happened, but you didn't recognize it. So, I want to tell you guys this now, so when it happens again, you can take advantage of this. Because there are times when girls are, flirting with you and you don't even realize it, and then you're missing out. You feel what I'm saying? Because you don't recognize that this is something that chicks do. And, I was in the same place before because I didn't even realize this until later on. I was like, oh shit, I'm starting to recognize this. And I was like, man, like I kind of missed out on some opportunities because, I didn't have my radar up. You understand what I'm saying? So basically, the thing that women do is this, because, most of the time, guys, we're the ones who, we go and approach women. We come up to girls and we talk to them. We trying to holler at them or whatever. But sometimes a woman, she might see you and she might be interested in you, but you're not technically paying her any attention, or, you don't really see her or whatever it is, but she really wants to sort of like get your attention. You understand? So what a lot of women do is that they will approach you and ask you something or say something in a sort of like subtle, indirect way that really has nothing to do, or it seems like it has nothing to do with her sort of really being interested in you, but it's like she's just saying something so she can, be in front of you talking to you. So I'll give you a really quick example. So for example, and this is real subtle, and the reason why you haven't recognized it is because to you it's like, you just like, really, that's what that was. So let's say you're chilling, in a park or whatever, on a park bench or whatever, you just chilling or whatever. And let's say a chick rolls by, or she's walking by and she sees you and she says, oh, hey, do you have the time? And then what most guys are going to say is they're just going to look at their watch or whatever and they'll be like, oh, it's 3:30. And that's it. And then she's going to say, okay, thanks, and then walk by. But the reason why she was asking you for the time was because she wanted to give herself a way to actually engage with you, and she was expecting you to actually have a conversation with her. Do you understand? Which is why she was asking you for the time. Same thing if a woman said, she sees you and she says, hey, do you know where, 23rd, which way 23rd Street is from here? And you're just like, oh yeah, you just go down that way and you make a left. And then you walk away. And then she's sitting there like, oh damn, like that's it. Like she's expecting you to talk to her. See, the thing is, a lot of times, like, women, they're afraid to actually, be forward with you. Do you understand? Because they're scared of rejection. And they also look at that as a rejection of you not continuing the conversation, but they can't outright just say, hey, how you doing? And try to talk to you in most cases, because they don't feel that comfortable. They feel it's not ladylike or whatever. And so they have to do it in a more subtle way, and they expect you to keep a conversation, going. So you as a man, you have to understand that these little subtle things are happening, and then that's the reason why she's asking you these things. And a lot of times women do that type of subtle shit. Like, there's a store in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, because I live in New York City, where they sell beach clothes. And then what they do is they have these two guys out that stand outside the store with their shirts off, two buff dudes, right? And I remember I stood there and I was like looking at the woman to see how they respond to those guys. You understand? And a lot of women, if you're not looking closely, it looks like the women aren't really checking them out. But when I, was looking more closely, I noticed the chicks would check the guys out, but it'd be really quick and subtle because they don't want people to see them. The women don't want other people seeing them checking out those guys. You understand? Because it's like they don't want to be seen, like checking out a dude like that. You understand? But they still check them out. So it's the same concept here, where it's like it's a subtle thing where they want to talk to you, but they don't want it to seem like they're, like sweating you or trying to be too forward, because they don't want to, get that rejection, or they feel like it's, not ladylike. So you have to recognize the fact that, The fact that any chick is coming up to you and says anything to you is an opportunity for you to make the conversation go. Do you understand? Now, are there times where a woman might ask for directions and that's all she wants? Yes, of course. But in a lot of cases, the chick is going up to you and she's talking to you and she's saying these things because she wants to have a conversation or she's interested in you. And this usually happens especially if you're in a situation where, let's say you are, at like a coffee shop, or you're standing, at the corner of the block with your friend or whatever, and the chick is already in the vicinity, in the area for an extended period of time, like let's say like 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, and she, you've seen her in your peripheral, she sees that you're right there, and then she actually goes up and says something. Like I remember the other day I was in McDonald's and I went to go order something, and there was this girl behind me, and she went to go order something. So we're just standing there for like, just standing there for like 3 minutes or whatever, 4 minutes waiting for the order. So then she gets her order first, and then she walks away a little bit. Then she comes back to me and she says, "Oh, hey, do you know where such and such street is?" Right? So that is an example of her trying to, really like talk. But the thing is, I wasn't really that attracted to her, so I just was like, "Oh yeah, it's down that way," and then I just ended the conversation. And the funny part is, I looked at her face, and she kind of looked disappointed that was all I told her. You understand? So this is the type of shit I'm talking about. A lot of times, think back. There's probably been times where women have approached you and said, "Hey, do you know what time it is, or do you know where this place is?" Or sometimes they might comment on something or something you're wearing. A chick might, you might be walking down the street or waiting at a bus stop or something, and a woman might say, "Hey, that's a really nice hat you have," right? That is a sign for you to start the conversation and start hollering. Do you understand? Because a lot of times women are nervous to say anything to dudes. So a lot of times when they're actually saying those things, it's sometimes, and this is why I say it depends if they're in the vicinity. Sometimes they've been thinking about what to say to you for that whole time. So like the same way where I was in the McDonald's, the girl was probably sitting there, waiting for her food and thinking to herself, "Damn, what am I going to say to this guy to like, to start a conversation?" You understand? It's the same way where you see a girl, sometimes you might do an indirect approach and you say, "Okay, what can I indirectly say to this girl to start a conversation?" So you see a girl at a bus stop and you might say, "Hey, how long have you been waiting at this stop? Like, how long did has the bus been taking or whatever?" You understand? So you're giving yourself an in to have that conversation. Women do the same shit. But theirs is really, really, it's subtle in most cases. And if you don't pick up on it, you're not going to recognize it, and you're going to be missing out on opportunities to holler at certain chicks. You understand that? So you have to really understand what that's about. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll ask you for the time, ask you, "Hey, where do you know where this place is? Oh, that's a really nice hat. That's a really nice scarf. Where'd you get that? Those are really nice shoes." Whatever they're saying, they are talking to you at that point because they want to keep that going. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, and I remember these things happening to me a while back where I missed out on opportunities. When I thought back on it, I was like, "Yo, this chick was trying to holler. This chick wanted to, talk." Do you understand? But I missed it. Like, I remember one time I was on a train and I was reading this book, and this girl, she was like, "Oh, that's an interesting book. What's that about?" You understand what I'm saying? And I'm telling her about the book and shit. And, we're talking about the book the whole time. And then I fucking get off the train. I was like, "Okay, well, have a nice day," and just walk the fuck out the train. And I'm just like, and I thought back to that time and I'm like, "Yo, really?" Like I really, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, this chick is trying to, put herself in a position for me to spit that game at her and get it popping. And I missed out on it. And the thing is that a lot of times girls are not going to try to really, ask you for your number, or sometimes they'll be nervous to even give you their number or to even keep the conversation going. So this is why you have to be the one to, make it happen. So for example, let's say if a girl And and the thing is, you got to play around with it, because the fact that she's coming up to you and talking to you, you have her there, so you have to play around with the situation. So, for example, girl comes up to you, says, "Hey, do you have the time, or do you know what time it is?" And you can be like, "Hey, the time is for," or you can say, "It's time for you to take out your phone and put my number in your phone." You understand what I'm saying? Now, if this chick is flirting with you and is interested in you, she's gonna do that. And then, and then y'all can, have that conversation or whatever. You understand? And even sometimes, let's say the girl was actually just asking for the time. You even flirting like that can even bring up that situation to where she would, want to take your number or give you her number. Do you understand? But the thing is, you have to recognize that these things are going on, and know to take advantage of those opportunities when a chick is presenting herself to you like that. You understand? You got to be on top of it. So you got to really get out there. And I always say this, a good rule of thumb is, whenever a chick is talking to you, and let's say and you're attracted to her, or she comes up to you and says anything, you're attracted to her, just start talking, just start, flirting, start doing that, just automatically get into the habit of that, because then it's going to be an, automatic thing where you don't really even need to think about it. You understand? Because that's the point where I'm at now, where it's like, I don't really even think about it. You understand? Where it's like, the chick is cute, the chick says something to me, and, and I just start, going. You understand? I remember this one chick, she basically, she came up to me and she had an accent. I think she was from London or something like that. And she was like, "Oh, do you know where," she was looking for some ice cream store or whatever, right? And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know it's around this corner. I'll walk you over there." And then I started talking to her while I'm walking with her, and then she's talking to me, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in town for the next 2 weeks, and blah blah blah, and here's my number and all this other shit." You understand what I'm saying? And the funny part was, the chick was actually standing there, because I was talking to my friend, this dude that I ran into on the street. I'm talking to him for like 10 minutes, and I see the girl, on her phone the whole time, looking in our direction. She was talking to someone on the phone, looking in our direction. My friend left. I was walking, and then that's when she got off the phone and came up to me and asked me about the ice cream store. You understand what I'm saying? So, guys, you have to really, understand that the way that these chicks flirt, this is like their game. This is what they do. And if you recognize it, and if you know how to take advantage of it, you can get more shit popping. You feel me? So that's what it is, man. That's what it is.